Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi there and welcome to New Life Live. So glad that you are here with us. And when I say us, it's Steve Arterburn and Dr. Alice Benton. Jill Hubbard will join us shortly, right after this. But Alice, we just did a webinar. And that was really fun and engaging and wonderful over our new book, Understanding and Loving Your Child in a Screen-Saturated World. You were great. I really enjoyed that.
Well, Steve, thank you. And again, it was such an honor to write the book with you and to host that, co-host that webinar with you. Mm-hmm. And Steve, the learning curve for me was steep because you and I discovered shocking information in our research. Yeah. And I really learned that being the mainly limiter that I am with screen use, I was setting my children up to be likely to access pornography later. And I come from a community that so values time together off screen. And that is such a benefit of being a limiter. Limiter parents are really hardworking. They do so much, they input so much energy to get their children active off screen, doing pretty much anything else. But if our children don't get enough practice of using that self-control muscle, getting on screen and then coming off screen gracefully and seeing us model healthy screen use, they don't learn how to be responsible with their screens.
Well, and we looked at this research from Dr. Alexandra Samuel, and it said there are three types of parents. The limiter that you're talking about, which absolutely guilty. And then there was the parent that was the enabler, didn't care or weren't engaged or thought the internet wasn't so bad. But the model that we talk about in the book and the research reflects is the digital mentor. And that you're actually calling your kids onto screens with you. And you're looking at things, you're teaching them things, you're showing them that there's so much more other than Snapchat. You're subscribing to things that are informational and interesting to them at their age. And you are learning video games that you can play with them. We do that. And so the engaged, the mentor approach is more than just limiting. Yes, we need to set limits, absolutely. But if you only do that, you kind of create a rebellion versus showing them that you don't think the thing they love so much has to be evil and bad and totally restricted. And as you model good stuff, they tend to take it on, even though you may not believe that it matters. It really does. So that was just part of the book.
Steve, I asked my husband one of the best things that's come from us helping to write it, but also practice these principles daily for all this time we've been researching the book. And he said one of the best things is that you calm down. And he's right, because we limiters can be so tense and anxious. And so, Steve, every time the screen was on and I walked in the room, I went and turned it right off because I'm going to get my kids doing something healthy. Well, I was increasing everybody's stress and tension in my house unintentionally.
So it really is the best way to go. And you get all of this and a whole lot more from Understanding and Loving Your Child in a Screen-Saturated World. We will send that book to you. It's a $16.99 book. That's the retail. For a gift of any amount. I think to send it to you, the way things have been going, it's at least $3 right there. But any amount, we want you to have this information. We want you to share it with whomever you think would need it if you don't. Grandparents, parents, friends. And all you have to do is go to newlife.com and find it, or you can just call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Understanding and Loving Your Child in a Screen-Saturated World. If you have kids, you definitely need this book. We'll be back after this.
it had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle workshop can help.
After 7 years, he just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is coming to Dallas, Texas, August 4th to the 6th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
I just can't say enough of what New Life has done for our marriage.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back. Dr. Alice Benton, Steve Arterburn. Our phone number, we've got calls lined up, and we're going to be here 2 hours. 1-800-229-3000. And before I go to Arenia from Cocoa, Florida, just want to mention that the Every Man's Battle workshop is in Dallas this weekend. And if you're new to the program, you don't just go and hear somebody speak. You hear someone, and then you go into a small group and deal with individual issues there. And if you're married to somebody that has a sexual integrity problem and you've been hurt by that, send them there, and then you can sign up and go to Restore, and we will help you also. All of that information can be, you can get the details at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go online at newlife.com. Arenia from Cocoa, Florida. Now we'll see how it actually is pronounced. How do you actually pronounce your name?
Hi, it's Orlenia.
Orlenia. Okay, I thought that L was an I. Orlenia, you're not the first that I have slaughtered a name. So sorry about that. All right,
That's
so
okay.
how can we help you
Thank
today?
For taking my call. Thank
Sure.
you so much for taking my call. So a couple of months ago, my sister, that's 6 years older than I am, we had a beautiful relationship in the past, but recently she has changed a lot, and she's a Muslim, okay? So she changed her name, and she got upset with me because I refused to call her by the Muslim name, because I've known her as her regular name, which is Dawn. I've known her all my life as Dawn, and she said to me that I don't respect her, and I would say to her, I love you, and she said to me, love is just a word, but she would prefer me to respect her and call her by the Muslim name. And I had said to her, well, you haven't really changed it legally. Everything is still in your name. Our family knows you as Dawn, So she said to me, if I cannot call her by that name, then we cannot have a relationship.
So what's the question for us? Is it, yeah.
So
what is it you want to help?
My question is to you, do I continue to reach out to her, or do I love her at a distance? I do love her. I pray for her. I send Christian things to her, saying, I'm a Christian, she's a Muslim. So recently she said to stop sending any religious things to her.
Yeah. Well, I've got an opinion here, but I want to hear from Alice, Dr. Jill Hubbard's here. I want to hear from them, and then I'll tell you what I'm thinking as I hear this. But Alice, what are you thinking?
Orlenia, I think good people can differ on whether or not to use someone's newly acquired name. And this is a conversation we're having more and more frequently on New Life, especially as people are determining that they're a different gender than what they were born as. And so we've thought a lot about this question, and we three, I think, have different opinions about it. I would prayerfully consider what we call name hospitality. This would not be a battle I would choose to fight if this were my sister. And so I would ask God about it first, but if I didn't sense a strong no from God, I would consider calling my sister by her new name, while acknowledging that I'm sad by her choice, that I don't agree with her religious conversion, but that I can still love her, and I would consider calling her by her new name. I would maintain relationship if she's not chronically mistreating you. I don't think disagreement in faith is generally a reason to end relationship or choose great distance in a relationship.
All right, very good. And before I weigh in, Jill, what are you thinking? Welcome. And how do you view something like this?
Well, I think from what
And your microphone isn't on,
I know.
which is tragic.
That is.
So here, I'll weigh in while you figure out the mic. Oh, okay, now you have a microphone.
Oh, wait. Terry, you got me on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think sometimes we, of course, you feel very saddened by the situation, and it is very sad. But sometimes we have to lean in and be Jesus to people instead of trying to tell them all about it, right? Our information, our knowledge can just kind of fall on deaf ears, and the person can feel very misunderstood. And so as you're proclaiming about Jesus, you're actually losing the person. And so I think to lean in and to love her, in a sense, where she's at, even though you disagree, is what we do as Christians, right? We love people in spite of all these differences.
Right. Well,
Absolutely.
here's what I think. I have people that come and go from our house, and they have a different name they go by. And there's one that is a boy, actually a girl, but wants to be called by a boy's name. I don't ever have to say the name of this child. I just say, hi, how you doing? Great, things like that. And I think that you can have a relationship with her and not have to very often, or if ever, use her first name, the new name that she has. But I'm in total agreement here with Alice and Jill. I think you have to see the value of the relationship. Jesus tells us love first, above all else, love. And so I think love says, I don't want to lose this person. I don't want to be out of contact. I'm going to do this, or I'm going to tell her. I think I was a little too harsh on that. I understand why you changed it. And I'm wondering how that would feel to you if you did that. Is there any way you could see yourself doing that and not feel like you're turning on your faith so that you could maintain that relationship with her? What are you thinking?
I do call her sis. When I do address her, I do call her sis. But the thing that I guess I got offended, if I can say that, be honest, she said I was disrespecting her. And I don't see it that way, that I'm disrespecting her. And I would tell her I love her. And like I said, this is just recently, a couple months ago, that she decided.
Well, and I think, too, you have to say that this is a hard transition. It's even like when you've called somebody a nickname their whole life, and then suddenly they don't want to be called that, and they want the formal version of their name. It's really hard for your brain to make the switch. And so that I think I would just say, I'm sorry if you felt disrespected, but that was not the intent of my heart. And could you give me a little grace in adjusting? And that maybe it's a compromise of, if I were going to send you a letter and address it and mail it to you, I would use your new name because that's what you've requested. But affectionately and familiarly, as your sister, I call you sis. And so regardless of what name you use, you're my sis. And so I like using that endearing name.
Yeah. And one final thing, I'm just wondering, if you call her sis, did this come up because you told her you weren't going to use her new name?
Well, I never said I weren't going to use it. I just didn't. I'm sick. I'm the last of 7, and we all continue to call her by her name because that's what we know. And she tried to get my mom into, to call her that, and try to get my mom to be a Muslim and all that. But so then I said, what? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. I will not call you Dawn anymore. However, I do call her sis. Now, when I have to mail something to her, I have to address it as Dawn, and her last name. It's not the Muslim name. So I'm a little bit confused here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
right, that is confusing. So it's like, when does she want you to use the new name? And it's, it's one thing amongst her new friends because that's how they've known her. Family is different.
Yeah. So I would really look at how you can stay in her life. And I don't believe using the name that a person has chosen is turning your back on the faith that you have. I actually believe, Scripture says to be all things to all people. Now, you can take that one way or the other. You can take it to the extreme. But truly, I think many places in Scripture you can see Paul, Jesus, others trying to connect with folks in their culture, their environment, so that you have a chance of influencing them rather than rejecting them. And Jesus was really, except for those fancy hat guys that were the Jewish leaders, he was really accepting of folks and wanted to talk to some of the people that were despised more than anyone
people
else.
in the Bible, their names were changed, right, to reflect where they're at. Simon became Peter, right?
That's right. So I'll tell you what, let me send you a copy of Healing's a Choice, probably the favorite book that I've written. Hope it'll be helpful to you, and really glad that you called. And anybody else, if you want to talk, 1-800-229-3000. 1-800-229-3000. That is the number. And let's talk with, let's go right here. If I can punch the right button, we'll talk with Louise from San Francisco. And Louise is one of those folks that watches us on YouTube. Hi, Louise. And how are you today from San Francisco?
Good morning. I'm blessed. Thank you.
Good. We prefer that.
Yes.
Well, I'm trying to look at it that way. My son, who's 42, is bipolar, and it exacerbated when he had children 10 years ago. And he's been married like 20 years. His wife has been very supportive, although he's emotionally abusive to her. He yells at her and throws things. He doesn't physically abuse her that I know of. She denies that. So anyway, they recently had a trip out of the country, and they're on their way back right now, but the whole time he's been manic, breaking phones, yelling, keeping her and the 2 children, which are 8 and 10, trapped in the room. She was there to visit her parents, and so she's had a bit of a rough time, but they have gone out. They have gone over there. It's not like the whole time they're trapped, but, and then he's pacing around all night, smoking 2 to 3 packs of cigarettes a day.
All
so
right.
anyway, my question is, she is ready to leave him because she was horrified that he was traumatizing the children every single night.
Right.
By yelling at her and breaking things.
So what's a question for us?
I need to know the best way, well, in your opinion, the best way to go about it.
Okay. Is his father, are you still married to his father?
No, we're divorced when he was young, which is probably part of the issue.
And is the father not involved at all?
No, he cut his father off because he felt like his father wasn't helpful. His father's kind of egocentric.
Okay. All right, so we're going to give you some help right after this. Great question, and you have a tremendous role here, hopefully, that you can play. You're listening to New Life Live, 1-800-229-3000. To join us, we'll be here another hour and 40 minutes. Dr. Jill Hubbard, Dr. Alice Benton, Steve Arterburn here. We love getting to do this, but if you don't call us, we don't get to do what we love. So 1-800-229-3000. We'll take a break and come right back.
My girlfriends and I have been searching for so long to try to find an event to attend.
Lumina is a new women's conference designed to inspire your faith so you can lead and live confidently from God's Word.
It was nice to come here and just realign myself with who God says He is in my life.
The Lumina Conference is a 2-day experience. 1 full day of worship and teaching in Museum of the Bible's World Stage Theater, and a half-day guided tour through Museum of the Bible.
You are literally immersed in the Word of God. You can walk through the Old Testament. You can walk through the New Testament.
Lumina is for women of all generations, cultures, and denominations. It's a great place to gather with women from your church and community.
If you want some fellowship and you want to be strengthened, this is the place you want to be.
This year's Lumina Conference is October 27th and 28th in Washington, D.C.
It was absolutely life-changing.
For more information, go to luminawomen.org.
I've been listening to New Life for many years, gone to a few workshops. I want to support a ministry that helps people connect with God and with others and gives them the tools to help transform their lives.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Healing, 100 Days from Freedom from Shame, and 100 Days of Freedom from Anger. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back. Steve Arterburn here, and we're talking with Louise. So glad that you called us, Louise, even though this is a really tough situation. And I'll tell you why I think it's tough, and then I want to hear from Alice and Jill. The wife is actually doing the right thing by protecting those kids and herself, because you don't know what the next level of escalation could produce. There could be physical harm. Whether there's physical harm or not, it's harm. It's traumatic for kids to be a part of this. And so her doing something protects them, but also clarifies with them, this isn't good. This isn't right. Versus people that just enable this because they're afraid of being left or whatever. So, but if you encourage her to do this, then you risk him never wanting to talk to you again. And that's the tricky part, because you want to be in his life and have an influence in his life. Jill, what were you going to say?
Oh, well, just for the kid's sake, it's Daddy has an illness, right? And he needs to get some help. And in this state, in this manic state, he is untreated bipolar, right, for him to have this kind of episode. And usually they lack awareness of their impact on others and how bad it is. And so I don't know how he feels about his bipolar diagnosis.
He thinks he doesn't have it, and he thinks everybody's wrong. I know he takes his lithium, but he went off Lamictal, and he went off the antipsychotic because he gained 70 pounds and was out of it. He was like a lump on the couch.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. And that's the hard part, because it can have those side effects. But there needs to be a reevaluation, and I'm hoping that his wife will say, you need to get help or we can't continue like this.
And we would call this a therapeutic separation. And with the help of a counselor who's structuring the separation, if the message can be, we want to be a united family if and when you'll agree with your diagnosis and submit to treatment. And until then, we're forced to choose because of the erratic behavior. We're forced to choose separation for our protection for the time being. And Luis, I want you to be cautious about what your default position, your default response has been, as you've been a single mom trying to raise a difficult boy and now engaging with a difficult man. So if your default position is maybe you get angry back, or you avoid and get small, or you try to give him what he wants, be cautious of what you have generally gone to in the past, because it's going to take so much strength to hold firm and potentially even bring the last case scenario, but bring the law to bear if necessary in order to protect these kids.
And that is a role that can be done anonymously. If nothing happens to protect the kids, you can say, hey, I think Child Protective Services need to investigate this. But if there's a risk that might remove the kids from the home, and you're not able to raise those kids, then you have to consider that. But I would say this. I would talk with him in his more sane moments to say, in a very gentle way, from your perspective, well, it just sounds like that you might not be aware of some of the things that you're doing and how people feel about that. If you could throw out kind of a minimal level of something he could agree on, then you can build from there. It might just be, it sounds like you guys disagree on the impact of your behavior. And then you might go to just the fact that you disagree about that. It means that there's a big, big divide between the two of you. And I'd work on that divide, because you want to get him in front of a counselor. And if you can do it
really, a psychiatrist.
Well, a psychiatrist for medication.
But
both. What's
he's
that?
Got both. He's got a psychiatrist, a psychologist. His wife has a psychologist, and it's
Is he going to see? Is he going to see a
saying.
psychologist?
Well, he's supposed to have an appointment Thursday, but he's refusing. So according to his wife now. So right before they left on their trip, he called the police to tell them that his wife was abusing him. And so apparently they talked to both of them. And apparently the police have been in touch with his wife a few times and said they were going to have to do CPS referral. So that part's in play. And my idea was that I go over and try to talk to him and tell him, because she's afraid to leave him and do it by herself. And I don't know if she should just go to the shelter with the kids, but I think my son has always been very open to me taking the kids, and I take them all the time.
Well, CPS is interested in options, and sometimes they remove the kids because let's say in this case his wife isn't looking at options. And so better that she and the kids be at a shelter than her having no plan but to threaten him and not follow through on the threat. It sounds to me that these kids are in a very, very toxic situation, and Child Protective Services, their job is to get kids out of unhealthy situations and find some level of normalcy for them. And if you can be that, that's wonderful. But the worst thing is status quo.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here, Dr. Jill Hubbard, and Dr. Alice Benton. Our phone number, and we're going to be here an hour and a half, 1-800-229-3000. We've got a couple of lines open there. Actually, more than a couple. 1-800-229-3000. This would be a good day to get through. A couple of comments came from our discussion during the break, Jill, and then
yeah,
Alice.
I just had a thought, Louise. Perhaps you could approach your son that maybe they all need a timeout, and maybe his wife and kids could come to your house for a period of time so that they could cool off and have a break, so then they can better talk. And if you could kind of present it to him, like, let me do you a favor, and I'll take everybody so you can calm down, she can calm down, and then we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm. And the
good idea.
Emergency Psychiatric Response Team, which you can just look up on the internet in your area, is usually a combination of social workers, medical staff, and the police who will come and intervene, but in order to take a person to a hospital, to a psychiatric evaluation rather than to jail.
Yeah. So, two great things to know about. And I just hope and pray that you have the inspiring courage that will, and the gentle spirit that could lead both of them in the right direction. And I ask all to pray for the kids here and for him and her, because I just hate it when kids are trapped in these kind of situations. Passivity, acquiescence, there's no strategy for success that with this, in situations like this, that include the acquiescing or just not doing anything. You must not be the passive parent when there's so much aggression and sickness going on. All right, I'm really glad that you called. Just honor you by sending you the 1 Year Bible for Women that my wife was the commentator on, and I'm so glad that you called. Before we go to the next call, and that will be Buddy from Baltimore, I want to mention, or I'd like to give a shout out to Betty Lynn, one of our longtime listeners. Here's a note she wrote. She says, I've been tuning in to New Life, Live for 30 plus years. I found New Life Live on the radio when God broke my TV for a month. I would just say, thank you, God. Now when I tune in, it's like spending time with dear friends every day. And so we want to be dear friends with more people than just Betty Lynn. Tell people about the program. You can get it on a radio station near you. We're on about 200. Sirius XM, channel 131 at noon Central Time. Also YouTube. You can sign up through your podcast provider to get it as a podcast. All sorts of ways that you can view the program, and we would love for you to do that. And we'd also love for you to support us. And to that end, this is the official publication day to our Understanding and Loving Your Child in a Screen-Saturated World. I'll send it to you. It's a $16.99 book for a gift of any amount. Dr. Alice Benton and I did this project together, and it is a good one. It is a great one. 1-800-NEW-LIFE, newlife.com. Gift of any amount for a $16.99 book that I'm telling you, be hard to find a better book, I think, on what Christian parents are facing with their kids. All right, let's now go to Buddy from Baltimore. Hi, Buddy. How are you today?
Great. Thanks for taking my call, Steve. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You listen to us on WAVA, an amazing station in your area. How can we help today?
I hope you can. I'm a first-time caller. I'm calling about my 43-year-old son, okay? 6 months ago, he woke up in the middle of the night, punched a hole in the wall. This past weekend, he ended up in the emergency room because he slit his wrist. I'm really trying to get some help, but everybody seems to be booked up, and the closest place would be like in California or Florida. I was hoping we could get some help in the Baltimore area, maybe.
When he went into the emergency room, let me just ask you this. When he went into the emergency room with slit wrists, what did they recommend, or what did they suggest, or what did they say to whomever? What happened?
Well, they wouldn't allow me in, okay, because he's 43 years old. So I'm not sure if he's telling me everything, because I was surprised that they let him go.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, usually they would put him on a hold.
Right.
Right.
Buddy, do you suspect he started using substances?
No, I don't see that at all. I really don't, no.
And tell us a little bit about his history. Did this come out of nowhere? Has there been anger escalating over time?
Well, it could be. He hid it for a long time. He used to be a truck driver, okay, but he stopped driving the truck, and he hasn't worked in the last couple of years. And this brought a lot of attention to us, you know. So I'm not sure what's going on. He's not telling me everything.
Yeah.
And Buddy, what is he willing to do? Is he asking for any help from you, and is he cooperating with you at all?
Well, yeah, he is. He's willing to go to counseling. But like I said, we're having problems finding counseling in the area. I don't want to wait too long. I'm afraid to wait too long.
Well, and Buddy, have you taken him to a psychiatrist? Because it sounds like he needs to get evaluated first, right?
Okay, how do we do that?
Psychiatrists are excellent diagnosticians. And so when somebody is suicidal, you want to take them, because there could be, if you're telling us there's no substance abuse, I mean, we just had a call about a son that was bipolar. A lot of times there's, it comes onto the scene. It's dormant, and then something triggers that. But he's having these angry, explosions, punching a hole in the wall. Could be depression, could be a lot of things going on that he needs to get a proper working diagnosis for that, could use medication, right? Certainly if someone is suicidal, we want to pull them out of that. We don't want them to go down that low, right? So for his protection, I think that's a place to start.
And you might go the medical route because that's a good entry point to get a physical done, checking his thyroid, checking how his blood is, because there can be medical reasons for sudden drastic changes in aggression and in personality. And by getting a medical appointment, they can then make referrals out to a psychiatrist and out to a counseling center.
Yep.
And you can make, if he would agree to go have some tests done by a medical doctor, you can talk to that medical doctor or leave a message before that meeting saying, hey, I'm bringing him in, slit his wrist. I'm hoping that you will recommend a psychiatrist. Now, let's clarify something. If I'm getting counseling, I'd like that. Usually, I would like that to be from the best Christian counselor I can get. A psychologist is further trained than someone that's a counselor. In between psychologist and counselor, or the same, is a therapist. But the psychiatrist, you really wouldn't be concerned whether that psychiatrist was a Christian or not, because they're medication providers. Now, you'd want to be sure that when they're just talking, that he's not saying, well, the big part of the problem is your faith. But again, it's kind of like, do you want to have brain surgery by the person that's not a Christian who's done 1,000 successful brain surgeries, or do you want to have the Christian do the brain surgery who has never done one before? What you want is go to the one with the most experience and have all the Christians pray for that non-Christian providing. And so what I'm saying is it's a physiological issue that the psychiatrist is looking at. How could I impact the body of this person, the physiology, in a positive way? And so I would be looking for that great psychiatrist, or ask that doctor to help you find a great psychiatrist right there. And it's really can just be a one-time visit to the psychiatrist, and then he'll follow up in 2 months or whatever.
I think you go for an initial evaluation, and it usually costs more. And then you come in for follow-up. And if you go on medication, you're going to have some med checks, and they start to stretch it out more and more. And you add in the psychologist, because clearly, he hasn't been working in the last couple of years. That's a setup. That's a setup for depression right there. And he's suicidal and angry. So at the very least, it sounds like that's operating.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad you called, and I'm going to send you Take Your Life Back. And I hope that there's some things in there that, be helpful to you, but helpful to him also, because he doesn't have his own life anymore. It's controlled by a problem, a systemic problem, physiological, emotional, spiritual, all there. If you want to join us, we'll take a break, come right back. We'll be here another hour 15, 1-800-229-3000.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here. I want to be sure that you know that if you're calling and holding on here, we're going to get to you in the next program. So when I finish this segment, well, we're not finished with you. We'll take you in the program we're going to record right after this. I do want to mention that this gift that you would give and receive a copy of Understanding and Loving Your Child in a Screen-Saturated World, this gift would really help us out. We're going to call this the summer slump of 2023. And we need help with it. It's bigger, wider, deeper than we've had a summer slump before. We always plan on it. We budget for it. But this one's a tough one for a lot of different reasons, anxiety about different things and prices and all of that. Mm-hmm. So help us if you can. Some can't. But please call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE, newlife.com, and we'll send you Understanding and Loving Your Child in a Screen-Saturated World, a great book to give to a grandparent, a parent, sister, brother, youth pastor. You will not be disappointed in this book. The research is thorough and the practicality is so great. And some of the things we discovered, as we talked about at the beginning of the program, quite shocking. And so you don't want to be spending a lot of time doing the exact wrong thing. All right, let's go to Diane. Delavan, Illinois. She listens to us as a podcast we talked about. Hi there. How are you, Diane?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
Excellent. What's going on in your life?
My question is, I have been estranged from my family of origin for more than 10 years now.
Why? Why is that?
Well, because they're a very strict religious person, and I question things, and I didn't do what they wanted me to do, and there was a lot of condemnation and shaming, and finally, I was the one who did leave, but they wasn't very happy about it.
Yeah. Okay. What's the question for us then?
I still have well, my mom passed away last December. I did not go. They did call and tell me. But she had Alzheimer's, so the past several years, I mean, she wouldn't have known who I was anyhow. I mean, they took care of her well, so I mean that wasn't an issue. But I just, you know, when I did leave, I still kept in contact with my mom for several years, and she would come down to my house for kids' birthday parties and all that.
Okay, so get to the issue with the rest of the family. What's the question we could help you with?
Okay, how do I get over the desire of wanting to work things out because they do not have no desire to work it out?
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
Wow. I just contacted my sister and two of my brothers, and they're just, they're just mad that I didn't help with Mom at the end.
Right.
And I didn't go to the funeral.
Okay.
But there was lots of issues before that, but that's what they're mad at me about.
So
there are two pieces here, and I'm going to throw out the easiest one. In direct answer, how would you get over that? You'd have to do grief work. I'll send you the Life Recovery Bible grief workbook and also a Life Recovery Bible to help you with that. But beyond that, I sure wish you could find the path that provides connection or reconnection with them. Alice, what are you thinking there?
Oh, Diane, you've been through so much, and to have this unfulfilled yearning, we know that hope deferred makes the heart sick. It's a good desire you have to reconcile with your family, but they seem to be proving to be unsafe to do that they're not ready yet to do their part in the reconciliation. So I'm going to give you a strange recommendation, which is to get angry and to share that anger with a safe peer or with a professional who can help you process through the grief, as Steve said, and also the anger that your family's not willing to do their part to reconnect with you. And then I think God might be allowing you to feel such a strong urge because maybe there's some checking to do on how you went about separating. The separation was necessary, and that's a biblically based separation. And yet, we can make mistakes in the way we separate when we do it with an unholy anger or with vindictiveness. Maybe there's second thoughts about, should I have attended my mom's funeral? And so checking your part to look for, is there anything I should apologize for or confess myself? Because that sometimes softens the other party that's not yet willing to do what you're willing to do.
Right. And I was thinking along those lines, because, Diane, you are the person who left, right? They feel hurt, rejected, like you bailed out, even though there's a whole history of ways in which they have hurt you, right? Because that's the reason why you left. I think you have to start by owning what you know to be true for them in terms of your part. You didn't go to the funeral. That, even if you have reasons that are justifiable, they feel hurt by that. And I think that's important to acknowledge. You didn't help with your mom as much as they did. I think that's important to acknowledge, and to acknowledge, you know, that what you told us, that you thought they really took care of her, and you so appreciate that, and that you apologize for letting them down in that way. Right? Because we have to start there, like you said, Alice. So then hearts are softened. And if they feel seen and heard first, there may be an opening then for you to come back and say, is there a chance for us to talk about the other family dynamics that I felt I had to leave over?
And there's also not a guarantee that this will work. And the Bible says that the word separates family members. And so when we're not willing to keep that unhealthy pattern going, the family can reject us because of our decision. And so then, Diane, we look to build a spiritual family because our biological family isn't emotionally or spiritually safe to be in close contact with.
Yeah. So I think if you would take this advice, they might be shocked to find out that you even care about them in a deep way. They might be shocked to know that you have regrets about the situation. So any honest confession, humble admission, I think that's your best path. And do it in a way that isn't overbearing and really respectful of them. I think it could be a great thing. I don't know if we have a copy, but we'll try to find one. How to Have That Difficult Conversation by John and Henry would be a great book. See if we've got it. We can send it to you. If not, I'll send you something else. All right. Glad you called. Anybody else? We're going to do another program here. And you could join us if you're not on hold. 1-800-229-3000. Please support us if you can. And don't forget, Every Man's Battle in Dallas this Friday. Now, you could sign up, guys, and everything be different. You have the ability to choose, this needs to stop. I can't do it on my own, but I can do it with the help that thousands and thousands of men have received. Our workshop, very different than the book. And it is so powerful, you won't even believe how much progress you can make in a very, very short length of time. And wives, maybe it's time you say the least you could do is to go to this weekend event in Dallas. To find out about it, how to talk to him or you guys, how to develop some courage to go, we have scholarships available, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To join us on the next program, 1-800-229-3000. Thank you, Dr. Alice, Dr. Jill, all of you who listen, watch, and pray.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.